Hi there. I know it's been a while, but I want to come back because this is the 50th anniversary year of the publishing of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance on April 15th, 1974. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance was published. And since the whole premise of this channel was to get the word out about Persig's work and how good it was, I think that I sort of need to be part of that. So I'd like to get involved again this year before it gets too late. It's already February. So this is the simplest, most flexible, and therefore most useful metaphysics that there is, the metaphysics of quality, which is formulated and which you can follow the formulation of in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's also the best novel I've ever read. In terms of the quality metaphysics Phaedrus discovered and Robert expands upon in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is to perceive reality in terms of quality, or in fact as quality instead of matter or subjects or objects or materialism. That notion was revolutionary in the face of the Church of Reason, which was unchallenged for the most part. And I think that Persig formulated this metaphysics, or it emerged because it had to, but it was an antidote to the technological and aesthetic mess of the middle of the late 20th century, which you could summarize from a phrase in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is doing what is reasonable, even if it isn't any good. So let's fast forward 50 years, look around. What we're seeing is the end of this reasonable but not good. We're seeing the end of the utility of pure intellectual rationality. Rationality categorizes, and now everything is divided, fragmented, over-categorized. For example, we can't even come to some kind of consensus on what the truth is because there's so many different elements that we can piece together and create some coherent conception of the truth, which is why there's two different, that the science can't come to consensus anymore. We can't come to consensus anymore in the news. There's just so much to choose from, and the system of taking pieces and putting them together in a reasonable way, it's not working. So the full God we once had, the God whose essence was quality, and you don't have to be religious to understand this, but at one time we believed in God, and that God was the God of the good. And that's been replaced with the God of efficiency. And efficiency by its very nature means what gave life its quality has been pruned away because these ephemeral aspects are not efficient. So the philosophy in this book, one that replaces mechanical certainty and the worship of profit with something else, with quality and with the notion of care itself, with a caring for what you're doing and with value in the moment, is an approach that's sorely needed as we move into an era where the internet, social media, etc., has sequestered us into a virtual reality. And that virtual reality is just about to get ramped up. It's really kind of frightening. People running around with these headsets. And, whatever is going on with AI. So a friend of mine who's keyed into Persig's work, who's studied it extensively, pointed to this quote from Bernardo Kastrup. And one thing I want to say is in the consciousness arena, the consciousness studies of Don Hoffman, and there's that whole consciousness, Dan Dennett and all that stuff. I don't know much about those guys, but I do know about Bernardo Kastrup, the people who integrate more with the spiritual aspect, Bernardo Kastrup, Don Hoffman, the Rupert Spira, the science and non-duality, that's more my domain, are thinking in this direction too. And it's sort of one channel that I point to all the time, Theories of Everything. And a lot of those guys who come on his channel have some spiritual bent. So integrating this other side back into it, is very consonant with what Pirsig was trying to do. So Bernardo Castro said this, and my friend pointed me to this quote. We are lost in abstractions. We are lost in abstractions in our psychology, in our view of the meaning of life, in our science, in our philosophy. We are completely lost in abstractions. And I think that will be the theme of the 21st century, our painful emergence from the cocoon of abstraction. So how about that? Doesn't that sort of sum up? I mean, doesn't that make sense as to what might be the direction we kind of have to go, or where we're going to go when we realize that technology is not a substitute for having your feet on the ground? You're not looking at a television set. You got your feet 3 inches from the pavement. You know what I mean? So what better to help us emerge from that cocoon than the work of Robert and Pirsig? Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, I believe that this philosophy can pull us back to earth and show us how to truly care again by steering away from what's efficient and back towards what's good. And this paradigm shift just might save ourselves and the planet, after all. In terms of a novel, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance has it all. A journey across the back roads of a lost America, the metamorphosis of a father-son relationship, quiet reflections on the way things are, an exploration of the fragility of human psychology and the resilience, and a documentation of the development of a profound philosophical approach to reality. The writing is superb, the characters totally believable and relatable, and the story is compelling. So as a piece of literature, it is top-notch, which is why it's a classic. The first time I commented on Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance a few years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what Pirsig was about. I was kind of trying to keep myself accountable by having a YouTube channel where I kind of had to do it. So I would learn this stuff, which I believed, which I had this intuitive sense really held the key to what would make life comprehensible and meaningful. So, like I said, it was pretty incoherent. I got a lot wrong. But I'd like to go back over Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, maybe not as extensively as I did before, but just pick some choice quotes and maybe talk about them through the lens of someone who's been on this journey several years now. And this journey's been remarkable because I've met so many great people who have helped me and influenced my understanding of Pirsig and who understand Pirsig way better. Some people I agree with, some people I don't. But the people I do agree with have completely floored me as to their interpretations. It's been really a remarkable time. So I'm going to put a few links so you can get into Pirsig's work if you want to, and I suggest you do. If you're a fan of Pirsig or you've never read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, you could revisit, you could rediscover the work of this amazing author whose time has absolutely come. So I hope that makes sense. I'll be back, and I will see you next time.